I'm Kenny Joya. Welcome to another one of my tutorials. In this video, I'm going to show you relative grid and snap offset editing in Reaper. Now I have a couple of vocal tracks in front of me, but this will work with any audio or any item. Let's first go over our grid and snapping. If we go up over here, we can turn on our grid, and it creates grid lines at specific points. In this case, it's set to the bar. So every bar, bar 3, bar 4, bar 5, has a grid line. And if we turn on snapping right here, when we move the items, they're going to snap right to those lines. But the problem is, not all audio tracks or items are meant to fall right on the bar or the grid. Let's get closer. See this one right here? It starts a bit earlier. So if we move it, it's not really in the right place. Or if we duplicate it, the same problem. This is not going to line up the same way this one does. And that's the purpose of relative grid mode. So let's right click up here, which opens up our snap grid settings, and turn on snap relative to grid. Now when that's turned on, notice the toolbar looks different. Before it looked like this. When it's turned off. But with relative to grid turned on, it looks like this, letting us know that that mode is active. So now, if we drag this item over here, watch what happens. It snaps relative to the grid. Let's zoom in. See right here? It's not based on the beginning of the item. It's based on where the item started. If it starts here, it's going to snap there. And if you notice, as you move it, see the little line right there? That's where it's going to snap. Because that's the spot that was on the grid before. Right here. So it's really useful for moving our items around. Let's say we wanted to take these items and move them over here. With the mode turned off, we could select them all, and again it's going to snap right to the front. But with relative grid turned on, they're going to move relative to the grid. So let's move them together. Snaps here, or here. And I'll do the same thing with any of them. Notice where the grid is right here. Let's bring this over to here, and it snaps. Based on where the item's placement started. Right here. Same with this one. So it's very useful for moving things around. Let's select them all. Let's duplicate them over to here, and see it snaps relative to the grid. Let's do it again, over here, and again it snaps relative to the grid. And it's even more useful for dealing with multiple tracks. Right here, we have a bunch of background vocals. But again, they're not placed on the grid. The start of the items are a bit early compared to the grid. So let's group them by selecting them all. Hit G. Now they behave as a group. And again, if relative grid was turned off, and we try to move these, they're going to snap to the front of the item. But if we turn it on, they're going to snap relative to the grid. So we can move them right here, and they snap relative to the grid. Which again is great for duplicating them to different parts of the song. Just drag them over, and they snap. Let's do it again over here. And they snap relative to the grid, right here. Now similar to relative grid mode is the snap offset. Let's turn this off right over here, because we're not going to need it for this part. if we have the same situation, we could solve it a bit differently. Let's say we want to line this up based on the first transient right here. We can go to this corner right here, see how the cursor changes, and drag it out. And this is our snap offset. Let's zoom in a bit more and set it right to where the sound actually starts, right here. And let's say we wanted to place this right on our bar. Even with relative mode turned off, it's going to snap to the snap offset. So let's drag it over and see how it snaps. Not based on the start of the item, right here. That doesn't snap. It snaps to the snap offset. But the benefit of this is that we can set it differently for each item. So this one over here, we could put this one over here, maybe over here, over here. And now this one's going to snap based on this snap offset. Move it over. See, it snaps. So each item can have a different snap offset. And where it differs with relative grid mode is we can copy and paste it. So if we move this back to here, if we cut this and paste it right at bar 3, the beginning of the item is pasted at bar 3. But we don't want that. So with snap offset, if it's placed here, we can cut it and paste it at bar 3, and that offset is where it's pasted. Let's do the same thing with this one. Let's cut it. Let's paste it over here. And again, it's pasted based on that offset. So again, we could use it together. Let's select them all and cut it and paste it at bar 5. Again, it pastes it based on the snap offset. Let's do the same thing with our background vocals. Again, relative grid mode is turned off right here, but we could use snap offset instead. Let's move the snap offset right to here on the bar. And now we can cut all these background vocals and paste them right at bar 6. And they're pasted based on that snap offset. So they start a bit early compared to our bar. And it works for duplicating. Just drag them over and they snap right in the snap offset. So we can use the relative grid mode or the snap offset to do the same thing. Although the snapping offset is better for copying and pasting. Cut it, paste it here, and it pastes based on that offset. So that's relative grid and snap offset editing in Reaper. I hope you learned something. I hope you can use it, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.